Do you think that we will have people that will actually be considered like legends moving forward, like by the generation that comes after? So, for instance, we talk about Kyrie, and cool, Kyrie is being called that now. And I'm just using Kyrie as an example because I think he should be a legend. But will the generation afterwards, with the pace that everything's moving in the world, will they actually be able to look back and say, oh, that guy Kyrie Irving back in the day was great? Or will the next generation, will he be forgotten? Because everything is always moving so fast. Will these next kids forget this crop of players right now? Can an Anthony Edwards actually become a legend as great as he looks like he could be? Or will they just move on to the next because everybody's on to the next? How they're trying to dismiss Mike now and move on from Mike. Like, our generation held on to the past guys. We're still fighting for Bird and Magic. But I don't know that these kids are going to fight for their guys.
Okay. The way I look at it is a couple of different ways of saying, of leading me to the answer of no. But it is still possible, right? But depending on how, I guess, the entertainment value or the spectacle is consumed. Let's leave it at that. So I feel like the way people decide who's the legend, who's not, who's great, and who's not, is not necessarily because of how we're captivated by what we're watching, but more so by conversation of what somebody else is saying. Because communication happens so fast nowadays, right? So we're all distracted. So back in the 90s, let's go with the 90s. When the NBA Finals were on, or it was the Super Bowl, or whatever event, whether or the Olympics, 96 Olympics, when the games were being played or the events were being held, how did we consume that information? We sat there, we watched it. We were captivated by what we saw. So we could fully assess to say, yo, that's great. Michael Johnson is a beast of a sprinter because I saw that. Maurice Green, that matchup was insane because we sat down, we got together, we watched it, we saw everything play out, and then we had our communication amongst ourselves, and then this pocket group, this group pocket, this group pocket, that group pocket. You go back to school, everybody's talking about it. You go to work by the water cooler or whatever, and then that's how we all come to this conclusion that that's the greatest I've ever seen. Yeah. That's it. And so then we herald our legends and say, yo, that guy is legendary. They become legendary. They become etched in our mind because we were captivated by what we saw. But they don't do that like that. It's not the same anymore. Everything's consumed in clips. Everything is consumed in a YouTube short. Yeah. And then everything's accompanied by comments. And depending on what those comments are, and the back and forth between the comments, we decide what's great and what's not.
Yeah.
We break things down in clips. We don't watch the whole game. We don't watch the whole event. We don't watch the whole matchup. We don't watch the whole boxing match. We just see it in clips. We hear commentary. There's so much commentary out now. Before we had our conversation, me and you at school, you know what I'm saying, in the classroom or at the water cooler at work or whatever it was, and we talked about it. Now he's sitting in the moment. You know what I'm saying, comments going back and forth between everybody across the world, and everybody has an opinion. You have like 80,000 sports shows and 50 million podcasts of everybody talking about it. So opinions are swayed, dismissed. Like everything's being shaped in a way to where we call this guy the GOAT by opinion, and all of a sudden we decided now he don't want to be. We don't want him to be the GOAT. So now we're going to tear that down because of conversation, and then we're going to put out a bunch of bad clips, a bunch of their what's the low lights. Yeah. Put out their low lights. Nah, they ain't that great. So now we're swaying opinions. We can play puppet master with however we want people to be perceived. So it's gonna be it's a hard climb to really etch in somebody's mind what the GOAT is or what the legend is or what is captivating, because we're not as captivated as we used to. We don't consume the content the way we used to consume the content.
Man, think if Blake Griffin was out now when social media was running as heavy as it is now.
He's the greatest.
He's the greatest athlete ever.
It's the best thing I ever seen. Did you see that dunk? That was crazy. He's jumping out the rim, out the gym.
Blake Griffin will be the GOAT right now. And the second GOAT would be DeAndre Jordan. Like
Yeah.
that.
I mean, because honestly, I feel like
man,
that's how John Morant. Not saying John Morant's not great,
yeah,
or
his
he's good,
highlights are
but I feel like
incredible.
that's how the hype of John Morant came about. The highlights.
Yeah,
You see the
right.
highlights, not the whole game. You see the highlights. Then the highlights come out, and then everything goes around, and then the agenda gets behind him, and they push it. Then he does something bad, and then now, you know what I'm saying? They decide to strip that from him. Nope, he's not
Yeah,
that great anymore. He's not as good.
yeah,
Not saying he can't
true.
come back and you know, saying come back from injury and be as good as he was, but it's gonna be even a harder climb now. You
Right.
didn't have that back in the day. Jordan go do something stupid, swept under the rug maybe, and then
Yeah,
you see him on Saturday, open it up, and all you
yeah.
know is what you've seen.
Tune in to WGN and enjoy the game, and that's what it
Yeah.
is, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man, it's gonna be rough on these guys moving forward, just by the way the information is consumed, like you said, and the way the conversations are had. It's always gonna be the next guy, man. We're gonna go through a run where it's gonna be a lot of GOAT conversation, and LeBron's title's gonna be up for grabs because right now he's the guy that pushing to the front, but about another
Mm-hmm.
5 years, it's gonna be another guy they trying to put ahead of him, and
Yeah.
it's gonna get real
The only
annoying to
way. The
deal
only
with.
way to do it. Only way to do it is you got to be over captivating. Like you have to be undoubtedly captivating. Kind of like how Anthony Edwards has been in the playoffs to this point, to where everybody's like, "Yo, that's the next MJ," and we're all coming to the same consensus because he was just that much. He was that much captivating for the audiences that everybody's willing to tune in and watch the games, watch him play,
Yeah,
watch him cook, do what he got
he
to
has
do.
been. Yeah, it's been. But
So,
I'm gonna say this, and if he want to maintain that, he gonna have to step it up in the playoffs.
mhm.
He have to step
Because
it up a little bit.
Here's the thing.
He's
Here's the thing.
having
Just like I said
moments, but
before,
he ain't holding it long enough.
this is
Those
what this
moments.
and this is what's scary about what you just mentioned, right? Is and then also what I just mentioned, coupling it together, that if he doesn't show up, that everything he just did over the last, you know what I'm saying, to finish out the season and in the last couple of rounds, we're gonna throw it to the wayside now. It'll be like, he ain't show up, boom, 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 write him off opinion. All the people gonna talk, and then now he has a harder climb the next season instead of just, you know what I'm saying, getting beat. All right, bounce out the playoffs, come back stronger, maybe get bounced again. You know, we let Jordan climb. We let LeBron climb.
Yeah,
We ain't letting these
but
people
I
climb now.
agree
They
with the
ain't getting away
climb.
with nothing.
He can have bad playoff series. Kobe had bad playoff series. LeBron had bad playoff series. They
But not
still in
his
the
climb.
conversation. But that's their climb. But even then, we watched Mike get beat up by Boston, but go for 63 in the Garden. It's in how you get booted too. And Ant he's been having some rough moments in it. He I still like him though. I'm not ready to give up on him because I like his
Mm-hmm.
attitude throughout it. He ain't
Yeah, yeah.
broken. This is right. His head is right. So I champion Ant, and I hope for the best for him because I like his mindset. He's from that old cloth, in my opinion.
Yeah,
But
and then
he got to show some consistency in playoffs. So you
you
do got
do,
to
and,
get it,
and
bro.
and that's the thing. Like Jordan, he did his thing, but he didn't do it in the way that things are consumed now. He didn't do it in this environment in today's world. LBJ,
Mhm.
Kobe, they didn't do it in today's world. Ant Man's doing it in today's world. If Ant Man was doing what he's doing now in the '80s and the '90s, no problem, no problem. How even if you get bounced out without a great show, or if he shows out and get bounced out, the legend still builds itself. Like you can
Yeah,
still build your legend in the '90s.
I agree.
Now it's hard to do it now. You know what I'm saying? Because it's so easy
They're
to
under a
write people
microscope.
off. You're under a
Yeah,
microscope. It's too easy to get written off.
yeah, I
One
agree.
bad show, one bad game, one bad game. If
Man,
he shows up one game and lays an egg, you know what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah. Then the whole story becomes this. The whole
Mm-hmm.
narrative switches where it was going. But I agree with
Yeah.
that, man. I agree with that.